latest top tips, reviews and advice, please subscribe below.
Hello and welcome to Attwoolls Outdoors with me, Mike. Telling you guys a bit of a review video on a brand new product from Vango. So with me today I've got the Vango Joro Air 450 and also the 600 in the Dura fabric. So first thing probably is to make quite blissfully aware is that for some reason in Vango's 2022 collection they've got two tents with the same name. Exactly, you've got the Vango Joro Air 450 and then the Vango Joro Air 450 Dura. So there might be, if you type the name into Google and look at that, there may be very different looks of it. They almost are based on the same kind of floor span and footprint and almost design in many ways, but the kind of the Dura sits above it in terms of spec level and it's got a lot more kind of unique features to it as well, so it's worth kind of bearing in mind. It's available in a 450 or a 600 XL, so it basically allows you to have sort of a 4 or sort of a 6 berth. It's a free zone tent, so you've got sleeping, living and kind of an enclosed kind of front sort of awning section, and it's in this really nice kind of Dura fabric. What kind of Vango have really done is kind of amalgamated two materials together in many ways, or take the best of both. So you've got kind of the earth fabric, which is essentially that really nice eco-friendly, basically single-use plastic bottles. So essentially things like that, they take essentially single-use plastic waste, put it into chips, basically then extrude it into yarn, and you wove the yarn into material. So that's what we got here. Now the Dura aspect of it comes from the fact that it's the way they weave it in terms of the manner it's done gives it a more durable effect. So they've kind of taken two of their technologies, put it together, and voila, we've got the Dura fabric. So that's the first thing to make a note of. In kind of the Dura collection, you've got two models. You've got the Joro Air in the 450 and 600 size, and then you've got the Roam 550 and 650. So throughout this, we're kind of mostly focused on Joro, but we've got a separate review video for the Roam if you want to see that. Big differences between, say, the normal Joro and this Joro is the fact that we've got this really quite nice and sharp fabric. For me, I think the colour scheme looks really nice. It looks very premium. It sits well. I can't remember what it reminds me of. It's almost like a sort of a McLaren F1 car or something like that. But a beautiful kind of blue and the kind of, again, the orange kind of tint to it with a match of the guy ropes really nicely. So from appearances, it's a really quite nice looking tent. But you've got a lot of kind of substance behind it. So we've got tinted windows, so you can necessarily see when you're sort of inside, for example, you can see obviously out and got that clarity out. But then when you're looking in, you tend to see more outlines rather than necessary details. Other things as well is that actually has a runs from a single point inflation. So we've got one point located down here, which will pump up the whole tent in one go. And we've done kind of a little pitching and packing video with the Joro, and you can actually see that in the flesh of me pitching it, pumping up from a single point, and it goes up. I think certainly for the smaller size, i.e. the 450, it's quite a nice feature having that kind of single point at the front, just because it's not a whole lot of air to go through. You can do it quite quickly one go. Probably to the 600 you could probably get away with it as well, but I think for the 600 sizes in general with a single point, it's worthwhile, if you want it to be done a single point, is to use an electric pump of some sort. So Vango do their own Zepper, they do their own turbo pump, which you have to buy if you buy a Vango tent because the valves are unique to them and they're quite crafty in the way they do that. If you don't want to go down the lines of a single point inflation, you can still use the conventional method of each beam going up individually. So you've got the dual purpose of doing what you want to do. The single point inflation works that it essentially works from the front out to the back, and as it sort of reverts backwards, each one's got essentially like a non-return valve. So the air will necessarily never going to go back, or you lose pressure in that way. So it almost isolates itself off automatically, which means you don't have to. Saying that, you can almost, like I said, pump the back up from the front on each beam individually if you want to go that line. So you've got plenty of flexibility. So even though you've got a single point inflation, there's no actual need to really use it unless you want to. And for that instance, I'd use an electric pump. We can see, like I said, there's sort of two levels of valves. You've got the top valve, which is normal, and then that's a single point. It runs with the fabric itself is a 70 denier, so it's a nice material, but it's that durable, that Dura kind of concept. Not only that, but you also have the color lock built into it. So it's basically, it's like a color retention. So it's designed to kind of make the colour of the actual fabric lasts longer, looks sharper for longer as well. So that mixed up with kind of jewelry, you get a little bit more kind of longer lifespan and sort of more solidness through the material, but the colour retention as well. So it's a way of Vango trying to make a tent last longer without increasing the thickness of the fabric they're using. So that way you benefit from a smaller pack size and also from kind of a overall lighter weight. The 300 is, 450 is 300 centimeters wide. The 600 XL is 380 X wide. So there's more space per person in the 450 than there is the 6. For me, if you're looking at the 6, I would probably look more towards the Rome 550. They're the same kind of width, but you can exercise pod, and for me, I think that there's better value there. We've got, obviously, in sort of the main 3 sections, the front section, we've got this really nice kind of door at the front. The door itself can actually roll from right to left, so you can have it sort of half open or fully open, so you've got lots of flexibility there. You still got that kind of tinted windows, which is really quite nice, a slightly higher footer, and located around the base, you've got these webbing straps to get additional tension when you need to. You've got a secondary zip as well on there, so if you wanted to create kind of a little bit of a veranda kind of style, you can quite happily kind of do that, fold that over, allow a bit of airflow in without having anything escaping. And you've also got a little clip just located here, so it means you can, when you're zipping it up, you can keep that panel in place. It takes the kind of the weight off the zip itself. It means it's going to slide around a lot easier. We've obviously got storm straps front and back to get that really quite nice sort of strength and get the material looking really nice and taut, and obviously matching kind of orange guidelines on the side with adjustable points to quite make it nice and simple. From a side door, we've got a really nice big side door inside. There's a physical mesh door built into the side door as well, so you drop the curtain down internally, and then you obviously allow airflow in, or failing that, zip it up where you want to kind of keep the weather out. This side door can also be doubled up as kind of a kind of a little mini canopy, so you can buy some additional king poles. It's easy. So buy some additional king poles, your eyelets located in the bottom of here, which you can bring out, create a little bit of a canopy, so it increases your kind of internal space, or certainly gives you a sheltered area almost to and from out of the actual awning itself. So that's quite a nice feature. And failing that, you can always just roll it up directly if you wanted to, which I will actually do for the time being. So you've got a little toggle point located on the door, which you can extend, roll it up nice and neatly too, and that kind of retains it there. The only thing I'd be quite wary of is if it's sort of raining, then necessarily you want to be careful that it's not going to kind of just come dripping down and directly into the actual tent as well. I'll tell you what, let's have a little look inside of the Joro and talk through a load more features that the Dura Eco has to offer. So now we're inside the Joro, you can kind of get a bit more idea for certainly when that door's half open, how you can have that sort of entrance area to the place. So this front kind of section is really kind of your wet, dry area, really, to be fair. It's never going to be weather tight to a certain extent when you've got a door closed, admittedly, but there's always a chance that something might come underneath. So for me, I think it's a good idea just to kind of, you know, have this as like a kind of an open kind of natural kind of cooking area. When you do so, have the door fully open and allow that airflow inside. But like on day like today where the weather's kind of on and off, you can more happily sort of cook, well, be behind here quite nice and happily. And this is kind of your main corridor where you can almost, to be fair, fold the ground sheet in half, have one side ground sheeted, the other side open to the elements. The door, like we said, opens up fully like we can do. So on a nice day, when you want to get the maximum amount of ventilation, you can open the door up, unpeg it from the base, and it rolls nice and neatly to the side. And you've got some really nice oversized elasticated loops to kind of keep it nice and neatly at bay. So now we're kind of fully open, we can then look back into the overall kind of first sort of, say, bug barrier. So the first bit going into the main living area has mesh all the way through it. So we've got 2 mesh windows on either side and a mesh door. All of them have kind of curtains behind it, so if you want to get privacy as well as obviously a bit of airflow through, you can quite happily do that. The door itself opens up like so. We've got a nice kind of oversized zip runner, so we can pull that back. So in fact, while I'm here, I'll give you a quick example. So when you kind of seal it up against the elements, what you can do is then the middle door itself will kind of just zip up vertically. So then that's your kind of barrier wear, whereas there's curtains on the side here, kind of actually toggle in to the side there. And then we will have this door fully open. We can just roll that back, undo the toggle. And again, like the kind of very front door, that'll toggle back and kind of keep itself open without becoming a bit of a mess. So into the kind of the actual ground sheeted section now. So we've got the sewn in ground sheet in this main bit here. You've got a kind of a little lip that toggles up and toggles down. So you can choose between having a level of fact, you know, sort of barrier against the wind and the rain, playing that, lay that down, and then you've got a nice sort of trip-free entrance into the actual tent itself. One thing I do like about this is it's got like a kind of villa construction. So even though it's quite a small footprint, it feels quite spacious in here. I mean, I'm about 6'2", 6'3"-ish, and I can stand up near enough dead in the corner quite happily, which means that for a small tent, it actually feels quite big. So it's a bit kind of, yeah, you don't really quite expect it, to be honest with you. And also you've got, yeah, again, not in the villa construction, but almost like slight pre-angled beams. And they're kind of good, nice size diameter, so you get a good amount of stability as well. On the stability front, you can actually sort of have, you will utilize Vango's TBS systems, that's tensile tension bands. And essentially its ability to kind of have almost internal guy ropes. It's something they've used in their high-end backpacking tents for many years now. It's something they filter down into all of their kind of tunnel tents. So if you get a bit more of a wind and you get from a certain direction or either side, this strap links up to the top to create like a triangle formation. So that married up with the guy ropes give you a really nice sort of strong platform. So if you've got wind coming in from the side, this point retains the shape and means you get a bit more stability. And those who have used it kind of in those kind of windier western weathers can kind of, you know, quite happily kind of, yeah, be honest and say, look how it works. I mean, for me, 99% of the time you don't really need to use them. It's only when you sort of leave your tent unattended, or it's going to be a bit windy, pop those in just for a bit of peace of mind. The main living area here is sort of, it's compact, you know, it's really quite a sort of a couple's tent or a small four berth really, so you're not expecting a massive amount of it. If you wanted to go a little bit bigger, then you can look up to the, say, like the Rome 550 if you wanted a little bit more size to it as well. We've got SkyTrack built onto this beam here as well, so you can actually have things like a hanging point for a lantern, you have little flexible lights going down, or even quite happily little storage pockets to come quite down from there. You have also got other lantern points located on the beam just by the door, and then one in the canopy section as well, so you can sort of orientate yourself around a little bit from that point. But for me, you know, your storage pockets will mostly be going here. We've got kind of their sort of midnight bedroom in here as well, so it's a bit darker than the normal Joro version, so hopefully give you a better night's sleep. Plus you also benefit from a ventilation panel in the both sort of the entrance section to it, so you can have a bit more airflow inside of it. Between the sections, we've got a toggle in and out divider, so you can quite happily kind of, you know, open it up, have one big open space if you want to. Failing that, you also keep it in place and get a bit more privacy from one another. What you can do when the door section, for example, you can actually just roll this back quite nice and neatly and bring it back to there. You've also got kind of little pockets in the bedroom section to the either side, just to kind of give you a place to put sort of keys, phones, torches, that sort of stuff. So in a minute light, you can actually quite easily locate where they're to. And again, we've got ventilation points not only in the corners, but a nice big one at the back as well. Cable entry points, you can also enter a cable directly from the front down the bottom here, or also from the side here. So it doesn't matter which way the mains hookup's coming from, you can quite happily accommodate it. Big window on the side here, which is PVC to get good light in, but there's also a privacy curtain that toggles up into position. And the one on the side over here, like we said, is a mesh kind of mesh door slash window, and this one actually zips up to get a bit more of a thorough fit. Let's bring the camera in actually and kind of get a bit more of a better feel for it and a bit more up close to some of the features in the Joro. So I said, colour works really sharply. Also you've got good sort of visual visibility around the place. But you can see when you've got kind of everything all open, it's a really quite nice place to be. Mesh built into it, so it's actually so kind of fine that you can't really see necessarily through it. And you've got kind of the SkyTrack system, which is kind of a clear point that runs along the beam all the way, so that can be your kind of hanging point. And you get sort of 10 sky hooks included, so but you know, if you wanted additional storage units and things like that, that would be an optional extra. a sort of a dead 50-50 split with the bedrooms. So you're looking at about 140 per each bedroom. So that's more than enough to take a double air bed quite happily. And we've got those sort of pockets located in there. So again, just kind of helps to kind of organise your space. And then the ventilation panels at the sort of side and also the back. A low level ventilation point beneath this window as well to help with airflow. Then we've got a cable entry point just down there as well to have it in from the front, or failing that, it's behind the bedroom on the side. Now you can almost just see a little bit actually the tubes that link the single point inflation all around, so it's very discreetly done and you wouldn't necessarily see it unless I probably pointed out to you, to be honest with you. And we've got a hanging point of course here for a lantern, like I said, not only in the living area but also in the kind of front canopy area as well. We'll have a little sort of wander around the tent as well, just to kind of give you a bit of an idea. For me, like I said, I really do like the colour scheme. I think it looks quite sharp and looks quite premium, and you've got some premium features in here, you know. And you can see that really nice big vent at the back. So I think for me, the 450 is the better of the two in terms of price, you know, and value, as well as sort of level of features you get. As previously mentioned earlier in the video, I think the 600 is a bit too close to the Roam 550. For me, that kind of tops it in terms of spec details. You know, the Roam's got everything that the Joro 600 has, just the fact that it's got an extra side pod for not an awful lot more money, and arguably, as long as you're not too fussed about having 3 bedrooms rather than 2 bedrooms, for me it's a better buy. But by all means, have a look at, we've got a separate kind of a little video on that as well if you need be. But all in all, something a bit different, a bit confusing in terms of name kind of convention, I will say that, but I think from a spec point of view, I can see where they've really tried to. So they've tried to get something with a high level spec, with a single point inflation, with the earth kind of material and that kind of ethos with it. Lots of ventilation, you know, front panel, side panel, loads of airflow in here, which is quite crucial, as well as low level windows, back point. So that is certainly a bonus. So I think for a small compact size, I really do quite like the 450. But yeah, for more information, by all means check the link below this video. It'll take you straight through to our website where we've got everything from sort of size dimensions, pack sizes, all the individual features, as well as other videos we've got on, say, the pitching video, for example, as well. But interesting, certainly something to look out for, and certainly one we'll try and have up on our indoor display showroom. So that's kind of a little video review on the brand new Vango Joro Air 450 and 600 XL in the Eco Dura collection.